Welcome to the Do Zone, where real entrepreneurs share real strategies about getting things done. I'm your host, Josh Thomas. Tag me at JT Literally and show me what you do in the Do Zone. Every week, I'll post the best pick to feature across all my social networks. This podcast is brought to you by Factor One. If you're a six-figure entrepreneur looking to hit 7 this year, there are 3 key shifts that you need to make in order for that to be possible. Go to imfactor1.com now, and I'll show you exactly what those 3 key shifts are and how you can get them set up for your business in less than 6 minutes. Once again, that's imfactor1.com. Today's guest is Chris Masiello. Chris has built a successful, nearly 40-year career spanning a variety of nationally recognized business units in the real estate and financial services sectors, accounting for over $2 billion in annual sales. He is a recognized expert in team building, personal coaching, personal empowerment speaker, franchising, business leadership, marketing, and operations. His experience includes over 100 mergers and acquisitions in residential and commercial brokerage, property casualty insurance, title services, land development, and private equity. Chris, welcome to the Do Zone. Tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Hey, Josh, really good to be with you and your community. Thanks so much for having me. It's kind of a simple one. Don't wait, do now.
Don't wait, do now.
Do it now.
I feel like I need to get
Do
that
it.
tattooed on me.
Just do it now. I have this phrase, don't worry about getting ready to get ready. Just go, right? Because once you start something, it's half finished.
Yeah.
The hard part is just get going. So don't think, do. As my grandson, he's playing football, and he and I saw the new Maverick movie, right? And they upgraded him into the next level team. He's a good athlete. And he was all nervous about it, And I said, hey man, just like Maverick said, don't think, do.
Don't wait, do now. I love that.
Do now.
It really is the key to success for a lot of people, because we get stuck in planning phase and what's going to happen, what if it doesn't work. But if you're doing it, you're going to find that out real quick.
That's right.
Awesome. I love that. And so I'm curious, you sound like you have been involved in hundreds, maybe thousands of high stakes transactions for businesses and real estate. And so certainly you've picked up some perspective from people who did wait and didn't do now, and some perspective from some people who didn't wait and did do now. And tell me, maybe, do you have a story that you can pull from the history of, okay, here's a guy that was all set and he was going to be wealthy and he was going to be set for life, but he waited too long?
Well, as you know, the entrepreneurial world is littered with that. It's the graveyard of indecision. And I've been very fortunate in my career. We started as a small family company in New Hampshire, doing insurance and real estate, and then both of those grew into much larger, nationally recognized enterprises. And then along the way, we're really more of a financial services company, and we have mortgage and title, and we also do private equity and things like that. So I've been very, very gifted. I feel very, really very fortunate to have had such a diversity of opportunities, and I think that there's this paralysis. And I think you said it very well, right? I mean, you're in the planning phase. Well, you got to do some planning, of course, right? And at the same time, though, you don't want to overplan. And opportunities don't really present themselves. There's like this risk factor where like by the time you understand what the opportunity is fully, it's over. So you're always, so I think, for us as entrepreneurs, we're always trying to intercept a timeline. We're always trying to make contact with the future. But if you make contact with the future too late, you missed it. And so like by the time something is like a guaranteed, or by the time the risk is bled out of something, well, you've missed the opportunity, because now everybody else sees the same things that you see, and then that space now is too crowded. And so I have this theory about when everybody's running to the left, I'm going to run to the right, because all the opportunity is going to exist where there isn't anybody.
That's right. The best time to invest is when there's blood in the streets.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, what I was seeing in my head is the adoption curve.
Absolutely.
And I don't remember all of the labels of the adoption curve, but for those of you listening that aren't maybe not familiar with it, every new idea or new product or new concept goes through this adoption curve, where we've got the pioneers, the people that are on the fringe, like, I'm going to innovate. And then we have the next group, which is called the early adopters. Those are the people that get right behind and they say, yeah, that's me. Yeah. And then we've got the early majority, and that's when the hockey stick starts to go up. We've got the majority, which is when it's leveling off. And then we've got the, they call them the laggards, or if you want to be nice, you can call them the late majority. And as you were talking, I was just imagining, at what position do I find myself as you're talking, on this adoption curve? Because the people who make the most money are where?
They're right at the beginning.
They're at the beginning. They're not the people who, let's take Bitcoin in 2016. At some point, Bitcoin was worth nothing for years. And then suddenly in 2016, it was worth something. And then people started paying attention. The early adopters were like, all right, I'm going in. And then it started being worth like triple what it was worth a month ago. And then the majority starts jumping in. And by the time that late majority jumps in, it's already going back down. It's like, you fully understand the opportunity, but now that you understand it, it's too late, because we've taken away all the risk. You can't make money anymore.
Right.
That's what I hear. And that sounds like that's the experience that you've kind of had with your real estate and business transactions.
Yeah, again, we've, certainly in the merger and acquisition field, we've done a lot of different, mergers and acquisitions are really growth opportunities. And like really early in my career, I did a lot of them. And it involved like going to different markets that I had never been to, like, different communities, and acquiring companies in different communities and getting to know people, and kind of having to put yourself out there. And it was a little unusual. No one was really doing that in the real estate and, in related fields. That wasn't kind of a thing. But we just built a reputation, for being we're the largest real estate brokerage north of Boston, in New England, and that aspect of our business. And we just became the go-to people. Like, we have a very good culture. We're very culturally aware. We don't have a lot of hierarchy. We operate on some formality, because you have to, but the architecture of the organization is pretty open. And so we became really a nice home for somebody who is maybe operating another family real estate company or real estate company, and they really weren't, they either had to get into like the estate planning phase, or there's competitive conditions, or whatever the case may be. And then we just kind of became the home for those people. And so we've kind of carved out a niche that way. And then as we were seeing the niche, it was interesting living through it, looking back on it, right? Is that as we were living through that niche being built, like, we had to be self-aware, right? This is the space we're in. And this is how, we're being considered, right? We're being considered a very safe landing spot for, a family business is now become a safe landing spot for other family businesses, right? Mm. So, but you had to be really self-aware of it. Like, this is the space. There's a kind of a truth to it, Josh, right? Is that we have to be truthful with ourselves without judgment about what's our business, who are we, what are we really doing, how are we really perceived versus how we would like to be perceived.
Yeah, the truth is never really lined with our perceptions. There's like your version, my version, and the actual version usually.
Yeah, and so along the way, excuse me, it's like, so along the way, as we were developing, this identity, There were certain deals we wouldn't do because we're not, we're a large company, but we're not corporate. And there
Right.
were certain deals we would not do because we're not corporate types. And so we had to be honest about looking at some deals and saying that's that's not us.
And, and so I'm curious, as far as deals, acquiring businesses and merging them together, are there some kind of baseline criteria that you would be willing to share? Because my audience is mostly entrepreneurs. I don't know how many of them kind of fall into your potential acquisition, but I know that a lot of them are thinking about, at some point they want an exit strategy, and having their business acquired in some way is a potential exit strategy. So are there any kind of rules of thumb or best practices that an entrepreneur can start putting into place now that makes it attractive to someone like yourself or a business like yours?
Yeah, I think, regardless of the business, that's such a good question, Josh. I think regardless of the business, um, you're always having to prepare for that. Like you almost have to build the company around you not being there.
Hmm. Makes sense.
And yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, and it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because we're all entrepreneurs. So, we're the juice, we're the energy, we've got the ideas, right? But the key to it though is, who are we surrounded by? And then somewhere down the road, if I want to have a change of control, well, who's the most who who's 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 the person who's least likely to continue to stay? And that's the entrepreneur.
Hmm.
So it's a team you're building that you can, and you can take your team and you can take that team and hand it off to somebody else, right?
So I've heard that a business where the owner is involved and his involvement is required is has a multiple of like one, maybe.
Yep.
And if you can extract yourself, depending on the industry and some other factors, that could double the value of the business, or even significantly higher than that. Just could you really quickly kind of explain?
Sure.
I'm kind of talking as from the perspective of a guy who knows nothing about mergers and acquisitions. I just heard that once, but you're an expert in it, and so could you kind of correct me on that or expand upon it a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good line of thought. The the multiples are based on earnings. So different industries have different multiples, right? So you might have an industry where the multiples are three times EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, taxes. Um, and so you could have an industry where it's 10 times, or it could be 20 times. It just all depends, right? And but the value, the EBITDA, you've got the EBITDA on paper. So this company makes money. It makes $1 million a year. It's a 5 times industry. So, okay, it's $5 million. Some kind of simple math. The deal, the deal is the people. The deal is what the value and the quality of the deal, and what will encourage an acquirer to take more risk. And more risk would be in a higher purchase price and better terms, right? Is the value of the team they're getting. That's the security. You're, as the entrepreneur, you're not your ideas and your energy to get things started, and your mentorship, leadership, all of those are vitally important. At some point though, you're no longer you're no longer the key person, and that's hard for us as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my show, man. It can't be your show. It's my show. I built
Yeah,
this show.
yeah.
I'm the star of this
But
show.
it's built, but it's got to be built to be somebody else's show.
That's right.
Someday, it has to be built to be somebody else's show. So it's showcasing your culture, it's showcasing your employees. It's really partnering with them, giving them the tools. Right? This isn't about me. It's about you guys. And because and be open about it. Someday I'm not going to be here. you're going to be running this thing. I had this friend of mine who's a CEO, retired CEO and out of big pharma. And he said something to me really interesting. He said, and this is big pharma, right? He said, it's not the equipment that runs the company, it's the people.
Yeah.
You know, and so it doesn't really matter what we make or what we do. If you want to really have a successful, if you want to build that company to have a really successful change of control, you know, not only for you, but for your employees or, you know, your coworkers, is that you've got to build it so that they can run it without you.
Powerful, man. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now and who's a good candidate to reach out and connect with you, and how can they do that?
So thank you for that. I'm still involved in our various businesses, although I'm mostly out of the day to day, and my role is really strictly strategic at this point. Okay. I've authored a couple books. I've got another one coming out this fall. And, you know, people can just find me on my website, chrismasiello.com. And if they have any questions or anything like that, you know, I do some consulting, so I'm available if people are interested, but I'm happy to answer just basic questions, you know, for people anytime. I think that's part of giving, right? Is that, you know, all of us in our entrepreneurial lives, we've all been treated fairly by other people, and we've all been gifted with knowledge. So, you know, it's one of the things that I don't mind sharing, you know, whatever I've learned, because, you know, every opportunity I've ever had to work with other people or to work a situation has also been an opportunity to work on myself. So I'm always happy to share.
Because people are what makes it work. Yeah.
It's all about people.
Building that relationship. And just really quick, I know you have a book out called Change. Tell me about this.
Yeah, thank you. It's called Change, short and simple. You can find it across the various booksellers. Became a Wall Street Journal bestseller, and it's really a short book. It's about 110 pages, and you know, we were talking about action, right? It is self-described by actually most of the reviews it's gotten. It's a actionable, very digestible book. So basically, these are strategies to help move you through a change process. Could be anything, could be personal, could be work, health, it doesn't matter. These strategies, and these are just things that I've learned over time that have been either gifted to me or, you know, through others, or I've learned on my own through my own experiences. And it's really a change strategy book. And it starts talking, we start talking about change for people to understand that we all come pre-wired a certain way. So there's nothing wrong. Like, if you don't like change, like, you came here that way. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Right. Your job now is to change the wiring.
Yeah.
That's what the book does. It helps you change the wiring and walks you through steps and sequences and stuff.
Awesome. I love it. Wall Street Journal bestseller, eh? It's exciting.
Yes, it's done well, and it's had a lot of support, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to write the book, because for me, I've just, like I said, I've had so many great opportunities, and to me, it seemed not to share it felt like a disservice, if that makes sense. So the book is really designed that way.
Makes total sense. Thanks for that. So we're going to wrap up from here. Thank you so much to our guest, Chris Masiello, for joining us and sharing some wisdom about how he gets stuff done. You can learn more and connect with him directly by going to chrismasiello.com. Also, recommend that you pick up his book, Change, available wherever you purchase books. If you listen to us on your morning commute or in your workout or out in the field somewhere, be sure to snap a selfie and tag me at JT Literally. Tell me what you do in the do zone. Also, if you're ready to break the 7-figure barrier with your business, but you know what got you here ain't going to get you there, we can help. Go to imfactor1.com now, and let's see how much impact we can make in less than 6 minutes. Know this, you are Factor 1 for your own success. Now let's get to work.